Hello, Scrappy Peeps! Suzanna here today for Scrapbook Your Joy, and I'm here to share with you a Cocoa Vanilla Studio layout. This is the layout I created using the latest collection, Midnight. Midnight is available at the Scrapbook Your Joy store, which is a Canadian store. It's an online store, and if you shop there and you spend over $100 Canadian, you will get free shipping, which is advantageous for those of us in the US because of the exchange rate. And she does carry a lot of the other Cocoa Vanilla Studio collections, as well as some other great collections, so be sure to check that out. I wanted to play around with some watercolor, and I really wanted a little bit of more of that bluey gray that's found in this collection, and I didn't want a stripe. So I decided to create my own background. I have cut a piece of, I think it's 12 by 16 watercolor paper down to 12 by 12, and I primed the paper with water so that the color would be absorbed into the paper better. And what I did here was I didn't have the color that I wanted, so I created my own color by mixing a little bit of that navy blue in with some black. And by mixing them up, I was able to get the color that I wanted. Now, you can see, tried mopping up some of the color, and I didn't like the mottled effect that it gave me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and brush into that again, and it actually leaves some really nice dark stripes in there on top of that mottled effect. So that is going to be the background for this particular layout. Now, unfortunately, it is very difficult to find watercolor paper that is white. Most of it is kind of an off-white creamy color. So this isn't as crisp as I would like it to be, but it is what it is, and I'm going to work with it. Now, I knew I wanted to rip this pinky paper, and that these were going to be the two primary colors in my layout, as well as being the primary colors that are in the collection there. So you see that navy there, that stripe, that's what inspired me to create the background that I did, because those stripes just weren't going to work. They were too geometric, they were too bold and in your face for this much softer collection, and the softness of how I wanted to use the collection in particular. So I also wanted another thin stripe of something next to that soft ripped paper in order to just provide a little bit of contrast to the layout. I am going to rip it yet again and again because I wanted to maintain that softness that's in the layout, and I felt that by ripping the papers I was able to create that softer effect and feel of the layout there. So the paper's still wet. I'm not bothered by that because I'm impatient, let's be real. And I just, as long as it doesn't make a mess of everything, I'm willing to work with the wetness and it dries as it does, and that's absolutely fine, and things stick to it. The beauty of the ATG is that the adhesive is strong and it literally does stick to just about anything. So I discovered, quite by accident, that if you rub through a stencil with a baby wipe on this watercolor, it actually picks up the color. And I really like the way that this floral stencil from Kaiser Craft, you can pick up the color, and the floral in the stencil complements the floral that's in this particular collection. My original intent had been to use all three photos, but that larger photo it didn't work, and it ruined the proportions of how I wanted this layout to work. I really wanted sort of a square-ish collection of photos to sit on top of the square layout there, and so that's why I abandoned that larger one. It is a slightly different picture than the smaller ones, and I back both of those photos with this light floral, and I feel like it needs something dark, which is why I'm going to go with this I'm going to call it variegated paper. This paper is from the 6x8 paper pad, which is also available from Scrapbook Your Joy, and I went I moved it up the page just a little bit, so I had a nice mix of both the blue and the pink. It looks sort of like a sunset or a sunrise to me, and I really like the way that that complemented the colors in both the pictures, that stark contrast between the black and the white, as well as the colors that I've gone with in the layout. I do have a glassine bag that I'm going to fold in order to fit behind the photo. I just like the added layer that that gives, and again, it's a softness that it brings to the layout and somewhere to nestle the embellishments. So I'm going to pull out some of the flowers from the embellishment kit here and just create a little bit of a scene. I'm going to create a visual triangle in this layout from those flowers on the top left of the photo, and your eye is going to move up to the top right, where I will also put a flower, and then come down to the bottom where you see that flower in the bottom right hand side there. And within that, the important information will be contained, because you will see the picture, the title, the journaling, as well as the embellishments to the layout there. I had thought it would be fun to tuck a bunch of flowers and nestle other elements into those ripped layers there, but what happens is the movement on the page is really more horizontal, and by tucking those elements in, it was also going to create movement that was vertical, and it got confusing and you didn't really know where to look, especially with that long, bold moments that is in the title there. So that's why I eliminated those elements that I had really wanted to tuck in and nestle in there. I had originally intended on putting a much different title. I didn't know what the title was going to be, but I did want to use some of the words, all of those words, well, not all. I wanted to use at least one of those big words that came with the collection, and so I needed to find a title that was going to work with one of those words, which is why I ended up going with Lovely Little Moments, because I was able to cut some of those word stickers up. Just a little bit of info about this photo. Coincidentally enough, the Scrapbook Your Joy store, while it is an online store, is housed in Ontario, Canada. And this photo was actually taken in Toronto, which is in Ontario, Canada, over the summer while we were visiting. And it just, in passing, I happened to pass by, probably drive by not far from where Sandra lives. And so it just was special to me to be able to use these photos with this particular collection that she sent me to use and share with you. So my daughter we are at the ROM, which is the Royal Ontario Museum, and it is a very cool architectural building. Google it if you get a chance. And she was so proud of herself to be able to squash herself into one of these funny little windows. And this is when we're still smiling for Mom and enjoying posing for the camera instead of today's current hands. That's about all I get, is hands shoved up in front of the lens. So that is my lovely layout of my lovely daughter, and using a collection from Cocoa Vanilla Studios, which you are able to get in the Northern Hemisphere via Scrapbook Your Joy online. So be sure to check out the store, and if you like this video, I'd love you to give me a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the box down below. Enjoy the close-ups. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. Take care.